In the heart of Tuscany, amidst the rolling hills and picturesque landscapes, a man will soon create his own vision of beauty. On March 6, 1475, Renaissance artist Michelangelo is born. Michelangelo Bonarotti is born in the small Italian village of Caprese and grows up in Florence, the birthplace of the Renaissance. He is discovered by Lorenzo de' Medici, a renowned political leader and patron of the arts, and at age 15, Michelangelo moves into the Medici palace, where he studies the Medici art collection and trains with sculptor Bertoldo di Giovanni. Michelangelo then travels to Rome, where a cardinal commissions him to create his Pietà from a single block of marble in 1498. The young sculptor's work wows the public and leads to a commission in Florence to sculpt the biblical figure David from a massive block of Carrara marble that earlier sculptors thought unusable. The completed 17-foot-tall work is an icon of the age. His genius transcends sculpture, as Michelangelo also creates iconic works of painting like the Sistine Chapel ceiling and of architecture like the dome of St. Peter's Basilica. Coming up, we'll take a look at some of Michelangelo's works. Also, if you're an art lover like I am, I recommend watching my video ranking the top 5 sculptures in history. There's a link right up here. There will also be a link to it at the end of the video and in the description. Also, don't forget to check out Today in History in my Teachers Pay Teachers store. There's a link down in the description. Okay, let's take a look at some of this man's incredible works. We'll start with sculpture. First off is that first great sculpture he did, which was the Pietà, which you can find in St. Peter's Basilica in Rome. And it is absolutely stunning, and it is moving. You get that sorrow, yet it's a dignified sorrow from Mary as she holds the limp body of her son, Jesus. It's a beautiful sculpture. The fact that it's made from a single block of marble and the comparison that you find there between Mary's fabric and the cloth that's covering Jesus and the skin, it's just really an amazing sculpture and something that you have to see in person to truly experience it. Next, we'll talk a little bit about David. This is an iconic sculpture, and if there's any sculpture that has to be seen in person to truly grasp it, this is the one. And the way that they have it set up in Florence at the Accademia does it absolute justice. And you can walk all the way around the sculpture, which really adds to it. It's got power, it's got beauty, it's an awe-inspiring figure, and you really get the divine, it feels like, when you see this particular sculpture. One of the cool things in the Accademia, in that hallway as you're making your way down to David, is there are a number of his unfinished sculptures, which are often referred to as the prigionieri, or the prisoners. And what is so amazing about this is it gives you a sense of how Michelangelo worked on a piece of stone, which is unlike probably any other sculptor in history. Michelangelo did not, slowly work his way around a figure. He would start at the front and just go through it. He said that the figure was already there inside the stone and he just had to liberate it. And one of the coolest things about these sculptures is seeing that process taking place as life is emerging from the stone. It really is something to behold. One of the other great works by Michelangelo, this is found in the church San Pietro in Vincoli in Rome, right close to the Colosseum. This is his sculpture of Moses. And this looks more like a figure from Greek mythology maybe than one from the Bible. And there's such reserved pent-up power in the figure of Moses. It's amazing. This was originally supposed to be part of the tomb of Pope Julius II, which was never finished. And so it sits there inside this church, and definitely worth a quick walk over there. Well, it's kind of up on a hill, so you're going to have to, deal with an incline to get up there in Rome from the Colosseum, but it's totally worth it. All right, painting. Now, Michelangelo was not really super interested in painting. He always saw himself as a sculptor, and yet when commissioned to do this, he goes all out. It takes him 4 years, I'm sure agonizing, backbreaking work up on scaffolding to create this most amazing work of art. It has different panels from stories from the book of Genesis. And one of the coolest things about it would be the architectural features that he paints in that are almost like optical illusions when you're looking at it inside the Sistine Chapel. And of course, at the center of all of this is the iconic figure of the creation of Adam, where first of all you have that cloak thing behind God, with God's entourage in there as well that I love, and it's shaped like a brain, which many feel is absolutely intentional, as Michelangelo would study cadavers in order to better understand the human body for his sculptures. But anyway, in this strong, powerful hand of God reaching out, and the limp hand of Adam as life is being, breathed into him, it's really an amazing, amazing figure. And then 30 years later, in his much older age, he paints the wall of the Sistine Chapel, this Last Judgment, and it's a very, very different work of art than what you see on the ceiling. A lot less optimism, a lot darker, not as dark as it was thought, because before the restoration work that was done in the 80s and 90s in the Sistine Chapel, you could barely see some of the figures down at the bottom because of the smoke from the candles and all of that over the years that had covered so much of it. And now it's more colorful than it was at one time thought, but still pretty dark. One of my favorite parts of this is there's a figure who is, I guess, contemplating the fact that he's on his way to hell, and he's like this, with a hand covering his eye. And then there's also the kind of weird St. Bartholomew skin that's being held there, which many believe is a self-portrait of Michelangelo. It's just skin that's hanging. There's some interesting features for sure in this, and it is an incredible, incredible thing to see. So it's not enough that he's a great painter and a great sculptor. Well, okay, now a great architect as well. And the most iconic work of his is, of course, the dome of St. Peter's Basilica. He had the original plan for the whole basilica, and of course that was changed by later architects. It doesn't turn out exactly the way he had originally planned, but the dome is his. And it has become iconic in the sense that it is the pattern, you might say, the template, you might say, for so many domes throughout the world, including government buildings here in the United States, like the U.S. Capitol building. These are all hugely influenced by this massive, massive dome, and you really can't grasp the enormity of it until you go there. And particularly from the inside, both the way that it's decorated, but just the sheer size of this incredible thing, it's awe-inspiring, to say the least. So I guess it's unfathomable that someone could create such iconic works in three such disparate mediums. I mean, there are art historians who consider Michelangelo the greatest in all three of those mediums. For me, he is without question one of the two or three greatest sculptors in history, probably number one. I would rank him very highly also in painting and in architecture, but really it's his sculpture that for me stands above the rest. Michelangelo also, just, a little bit of talent there. He also was a talented poet to boot. So in addition to the visual arts and sculpture and architecture, also a poet. And when you see his work in person, it really, like I said earlier, it's like witnessing the divine. It is something absolutely incredible. And for me, internet pioneer Vinton Cerf says it best. I'm not an art historian or even anyone qualified to judge art, but I can tell you that walking around in St. Peter's Basilica and looking at the Pietà was one of the most moving experiences I have ever had. Because Michelangelo managed to pull humanity out of cold marble. It's so hard to imagine that anyone has such a gift to create life from cold stone. Well, if you liked what you've seen, please like and subscribe. It really helps me out. And also, there are more videos that you can watch. There's that top 5 sculpture video I was talking about that you can click on right here, and another great Mr. Lewis video here. Thanks.